Well, I would say that my background is mostly from stage acting. I've also been in film, but I would say my passion is writing, but I was trained in acting, and when I combine the two, what I've learned and then what I naturally love to do, I just gravitated more towards performance poetry. And I would be on the open mic circuit. I've been also in some national theater productions and stuff, so I kind of put all that together to kind of create what it is that I do now. That also had me kind of falling into broadcasting. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, that just became a thing, really. Alright, so the Pulse Radio Show started as an idea. I had a friend that I met at broadcasting class. That was last year in April. His name is Ken Pyle. He's one of the hosts now. And he kind of said, well, I have an idea for a show and we want to get it on Starcom. And I said, well, it sounds great. And he knew that I did research in some sense, and he kind of liked my personality, so he was like, yeah. And then he also had a girl in mind to do it. Her name is Christina Maycock, and I don't know, we came together, me, him, Christina, and Big Red. And everybody knows Big Red. Listen, I didn't know Big Red has so much hits though. He's the cocker, the usual suspects. He does them better than most people. His cocker bumpers is really resonate more than most cocker bumper songs, right? Yeah, so the four of us came together and we got this show on Starcom 2 weeks ago. And we had Chantel on for the first one. We had Alison Hines last week. And it seems to be going really well. We wanted, the pulse comes from us wanting the pulse for the people. Having our fingers on the pulse of what it is that drives people, what it is that is spoken about in public discourse. We wanted to bring it out in a show. So that is basically what we are looking to do from here on out. The reason why I chose the podcast, I would say from being on Morning Barbados, we had some really great conversations, and the audience for Morning Barbados is an older audience from, my demographic. And I found that to be interesting for me because, to keep people engaged and stuff is totally different from Research and Some Sense. As a matter of fact, the audience that we get from Research and Some Sense on Facebook is completely different from the one on Morning Barbados, to the point that anyone that knows me from Research and Some Sense doesn't know I'm on Morning Barbados and vice versa. So it's like a distinct difference. There's a very small overlap in the audiences. I don't know, engaging with people that are my age and a bit younger and stuff, I wanted to find a way to talk to them. And I realized nowadays is it that people don't know how to talk to each other properly? Possibly. Oh, then let me say it this way. People don't know how to disagree, right? When you don't disagree respectfully, then it takes the conversation down the line where you can't even find common ground. If you can't even find common ground with the person you're disagreeing with, that means that to start off, the conversation really wasn't that productive to begin with. And I said that we needed a place that, or some people would say a safe space, where we could talk about whatever we want with no judgment. We're not going to judge the person that comes, and kind of feel out what it is that we are thinking. We look too much at perfect conversations, but nobody really champions imperfect conversations. Conversations you have are never going to be perfect. You're going to say things you don't mean. You're going to say things that are dumb. You're going to say things, but it comes from a genuine place. Just you didn't have the words for it. But then eventually, as you keep talking about it, then eventually you know what it is that you want to say. And if you really do strongly believe what you believe, and then it gets misconceptions out the way, it gets biases out the way, and you could get a totally different perspective. So that is what the I Know podcast is for me. On the surface, we talk bear junk, right? We just make jokes about everything. Sometimes we have no respect for anything we're talking about. But underlying all of that, there's never been a time where me and my co-host Kofi Jones, we've never disagreed to a point where we take it personally. People need to see how to communicate with each other, how to also not only be accepting of people from diverse cultures, etc., but be accepting of diverse ideas and opinions. I think that a lot of people champion diversity in one way, but when it comes to diverse thought and perspectives, etc., there are sometimes that we don't really give the same energy to that as well. And I think people need to kind of see two people do that. Actually, there's a guy that described the podcast as the digital barbershop, and I found that to be very right on the money. Shout out to Andwele Boyce. So it is a digital barbershop, and we can't do it in a rum shop, but at the same time, I think that it needs to be in a space where everybody is, and that is social media. And I've seen the effects of social media doing research in some sense, and the power it has. And if you do it right, a lot of people can be engaged with it. They can give you back and forth. You can record the feedback. You can talk to them there. It stays there. It can be archived there so that people, like, months down the line, can find old episodes to listen to. So I kind of prefer the social media aspect of it instead of just going in a rum shop and talking, to be honest with you. Yeah, I actually, as a matter of fact, I would say that social media is the new rum shop. The old Barbados days of the conversation and the public discourse being in the rum shop. If it hasn't passed, it is passing. Man, listen. Back in 1990, a study was done to show that Barbadians throw away 1,000 tons of garbage every day. And 1,000 tons is real blasted garbage. It started because me and a friend from school. This is one of my boys that I sit down and talk to, and like the same thing with me and Kofi from podcast. Actually, we're kind of all from a similar circle. I went down the road in my life where communication is something that I basically was doing for a living for a while, and he went down a path where the environment is basically what he lives and breathes, saving the environment and helping in that way. So we kind of just came together, and then our foolish conversations kind of mixed with what it is we were doing for a living. But at the end of the day, that is how it started. How it started is the friendship. How it started was us talking junk. How it started was us speaking to each other in that way. And we didn't want to change that essence. That quality of the way that we speak is kind of the essence of the show. So if the show is founded on our friendship, and that's what our friendship was founded on, then it needs to be seen in the show as well. So that's kind of what we did, and I guess people like it. A lot of people don't like it, but those people are older people, yes. I find it very interesting how you can get caught up in all the information that and you get caught up in how you think the world should be, and you look down on anything that isn't like that way. So you would see a lot of lecturers, you would see people that have been in corporate so long that they have been disconnected from everybody else that is kind of not in that field. And they're saying you should speak about this with a certain level of reverence. You should speak about saving trees and how plastic bags erode and blah blah blah, and how we done it with a certain you're talking for GIS, and it's like GIS does have its place, but also I think we can reach people in a different way. The difference between Pulse and Morning Barbados, and then something on my own that's like podcast or research in some sense, is my artistic freedom isn't restricted by people that I'm collaborating with, whether it be a company or a corporate or sponsorship. And I'm getting used to that. I am so used to just being raw and authentic, unfiltered as a poet by nature, to speak what is on my mind, that honestly sometimes it's kind of get me vexed. I'm not gonna lie. As an artist, it gets me vexed when somebody is coming to interfere with my product because they are too afraid that something that I say might reflect badly on the brand, on the company. The truth is this: people aren't as stupid as you think they are. And this is not with Cape Shepherd, of course, and I wouldn't say it if it was, right? But what I am learning, just negotiating with companies and understanding sponsorship and branding and stuff, is there certain things you can't say. No, I think that is an inevitable aspect of artistry, that every artist has to go through, especially if you want to make a living off of it. So what I am learning now is the trade-off between sacrificing what it is that I like, compromising what it is that is like my raw, unfiltered, wild thoughts that can engage people as effectively as I think it possibly can, to still uphold what it is the corporate and brands and the companies want. In that regard, like for example, Morning Barbados is conservative, reserved Barbados, wearing sometimes a shirt and tie, and certain things I can't speak about, certain things politically I can't speak about, certain things about, anything, and not to mention it's a morning show. You gotta think about what you're talking about in the morning. Some people don't want to hear certain things, whatever. The I Know podcast is the complete opposite, where we talk exactly about that stuff. We talk about religion, homophobia, racism. We spoke about domestic violence last time. We spoke about transgenderism. We spoke about everything that gets under our skin. If I want to dig deep within a conversation, within something that's sensitive, that's touchy, there is no way that you can talk about certain things without potentially offending somebody or saying something that is, a bit edgy, right? That is why I chose the podcast. I'd like to go down that direction as opposed to like Morning Barbados. So Morning Barbados could cater to more people, but I think the I Know podcast, the way that is done, would make people, I should say, think deeper and have a more visceral reaction to what it is that we're saying. I feel like with the Pulse Radio show, it's not going to be like the podcast for sure because it's radio. But it's going to be a night show, so it's not necessarily going to be like Morning Barbados. And also it's going to be for a younger demographic. So I think you should expect a lot of energy, a lot of, I should say, big names, high status names, etc. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be up to date with all the current events. So that's some of the reasons why you should watch it. But not to mention, I'll be doing it, and Ken will be doing it, and Christina, you will get to learn a lot about them. They're great personalities. And Big Red, we already know Big Red, so it's going to be good. The best way to communicate with the millennials is to stay true to yourself. I think that we're seeing something, I call it one of two things. One, the Cardi B effect, or two, the Trump effect. But as you can see, in the last few years coming, that whole politically correct thing is going out the window, right? Because we all have a platform, and on the platforms that we have, and when I say platforms, I mean Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. And on those platforms, the way that we speak is substantially different from the way that the generation before the millennials spoke. I would say to be as honest and as true to yourself as possible. And when you are true to yourself, people will know that, and they are going to connect with that more than anything else. Tune into the Pulse Radio Show. That is on Hot 95.3 FM. That is from 8 to 9 on Wednesdays. Then check out the I Know podcast. INO, Information, Knowledge, Observation. Also, I Know Nothing on YouTube. Put in INO podcast on YouTube, and check for me on Instagram, Marcus S. Myers, or Marcus Myers on Facebook. What else do I have? Oh, and Research and Some Sense on Facebook. Check it out. Research and Some Sense. This is Marcus Myers, one half of Research and Some Sense, the host of the I Know podcast, and a member of the Pulse Radio Show on Hot 95.3. And this is What Going On magazine. What going on?